Here's asterisk asterisk part 1 asterisk asterisk of the story, written in simple and basic English and third-person style, without headings. It clocks in at around 1,400 words. Danny Carver didn't think much about his job as a janitor. He cleaned floors, emptied trash cans, and kept things tidy at the radio telescope facility out in the middle of nowhere. The place was quiet for most people, but Danny liked it that way. No one bothered him here. Well, except for Dr. Lewis, who always seemed to find something to complain about. But even then, it wasn't so bad. Danny could handle a little grumbling if it meant getting paid to listen to music on his headphones while he worked. The facility itself was impressive, though Danny didn't understand half of what went on inside. There were huge dishes pointing toward the sky, computers buzzing with numbers and graphs, and scientists muttering about signals and frequencies. None of that mattered to Danny. His job was simple: make sure the bathroom smelled okay, and the break room didn't look like a tornado hit it. Still, sometimes when he walked past those giant dishes outside, he'd stop and stare up at the stars. They twinkled far away, cold and distant, but they made him wonder. What was out there? Were there other people or creatures looking back at Earth? One night, while everyone else had gone home, Danny found himself alone in the control room. This happened more often than not. The scientists usually left early, leaving him to lock up. As he mopped the floor, he noticed one of the monitors flashing. It wasn't unusual equipment glitch all the time, but this time, something caught his eye. A signal, a repeating pattern of beeps and tones played over and over again. Like someone tapping out a rhythm. Danny paused, leaning closer to the screen. He muttered under his breath, "What's this?" He pressed a button to replay the sound. Beep, beep, pause, beep, beep, pause, over and over. It sounded almost musical, like Morse code or something. Danny grinned. Maybe aliens were trying to say hello. That thought made him laugh. Aliens weren't real, right? At least, not the kind you saw in movies. But still, it was fun to imagine. "Hey, buddy," Danny said aloud, pretending to address whoever might be sending the signal. "If you're out there, I hope you brought snacks." Humans love snacks, for some reason. He decided to record himself talking back. He grabbed the microphone connected to the transmitter and started rambling. Hi. This is Danny Carver from Earth. You probably don't know where that is, but we've got oceans, mountains, and really good pizza. If you want to visit, let me know. I'll show you around." He chuckled nervously, feeling silly, but enjoying himself. "Oh, and bring coffee. We could use better coffee." After recording his message, Danny sent it off into space, using the same frequency as the incoming signal. He figured nothing would come of it. Probably just space junk interfering with the equipment. Still, it felt cool to pretend. When he finished, he turned off the monitor and went back to cleaning, humming an old song to himself. A few days passed, and Danny forgot about the strange signal. Life went on as usual. He cleaned, joked around with the scientists during their lunch breaks, and spent his evenings watching TV in his tiny apartment. Everything seemed normal, until the third night. It was late, and the facility was empty again. Danny had just finished mopping the main hallway when he stepped outside to take out the trash. The desert air was cool, and the stars above looked brighter than ever. He glanced up, admiring the view, when suddenly, a bright light appeared in the sky. It moved fast, too fast for any airplane or satellite. Danny froze, staring at it. Was that a spaceship? Before he could blink, the light grew larger, engulfing him in its glow. Panic surged through him as he tried to run, but his legs wouldn't move. The world around him blurred, and everything went white. When he opened his eyes again, he wasn't standing in the desert anymore. He was somewhere else entirely. The room, if you could call it that, was unlike anything Danny had ever seen. Smooth, metallic walls stretched high above him, curving inward like the inside of a giant egg. The air smelled strange, metallic and sharp, making his nose itch. Bright lights pulsed softly overhead, casting eerie shadows across the floor. In front of him stood several tall, insect-like creatures. Their bodies shimmered with iridescent colors, and their long, spindly limbs clicked together rhythmically. They had no faces, just smooth plates where eyes should have been. Danny's heart raced. Okay, he stammered, holding up his hands. "This is fine, totally normal, just, where am I?" The creatures didn't respond. Instead, they surrounded him, clicking and chirping in patterns that sounded almost like language. One of them stepped forward, its movements precise and deliberate. It tilted its head slightly. Studying him, Danny swallowed hard, trying to keep calm. "Look, I'm just a janitor," he said quickly, gesturing to his uniform. "I clean stuff. I don't know anything about whatever this is. So maybe we can call it a day and send me back home? Still, no response. The creature raised one of its claw-like appendages and pointed at him. Danny flinched, expecting the worst, but instead, a beam of light shot out, scanning his body from head to toe. He squirmed uncomfortably, feeling exposed. Hey, personal space, okay, he protested. We've got rules about that on Earth. The skin ended, and the creatures exchanged clicks among themselves. Then, without warning, they turned and began walking away, leaving Danny standing alone in the strange room. He took a cautious step forward, looking around. There were no doors, no windows, just the curved walls and the pulsing lights. Well, great, Danny muttered, rubbing the back of his neck. Kidnapped by aliens, just another Tuesday. He tried to stay calm, telling himself this had to be some kind of misunderstanding. Maybe they thought he was important because of the signal he sent. Or maybe they were just curious. Either way, he needed to figure out how to communicate. Talking had worked for him before. It got him out of plenty of awkward situations on Earth. Why not try it now? Hello, he called out, his voice echoing in the empty space. Anyone home? I'm not exactly fluent in alien, but I'm a pretty quick learner. No answer. Frustrated, Danny paced back and forth, muttering to himself. All right, think, Danny, think. First contact with extraterrestrials. How do you handle this? Do you shake hands, bow, offer them cookies? As he talked, one of the creatures reappeared, watching him silently. Its posture seemed different, somehow less robotic, more curious. Danny stopped pacing and faced it. You understand me, don't you? Even a little bit. The creature tilted its head again, clicking softly. Danny took that as a good sign. Okay, good. Progress. Let's start simple. My name is Danny. Danai. Can you say that? Danai, to his surprise. The creature mimicked the sound, though it came out more like a series of chirps. Danny grinned despite himself. Close enough. See, we're already bonding. Over the next hour, Danny did his best to engage the creature, asking questions, making jokes, and generally refusing to shut up. At first, it seemed annoyed, backing away whenever he spoke too loudly, but gradually, it started to stay longer, observing him with what Danny hoped was interest. He even managed to teach it a few basic words like hello and thank you. Despite the bizarre situation, Danny couldn't help but feel a spark of excitement. Sure, he was trapped on an alien spaceship, miles away from home, with no idea how to get back. But he was also having a conversation with an actual alien. How many people could say that? Eventually, the creature signaled for him to follow. Reluctantly, Danny obeyed, trailing behind it as it led him down a narrow corridor. The walls shifted colors as they walked, glowing faintly in shades of blue and green. Every now and then, another creature would appear, joining them briefly, before disappearing again. Danny tried to memorize the route, in case he needed to escape later. But everything looked the same. Finally, they reached a large chamber filled with strange machines and glowing screens. In the center of the room stood a platform, surrounded by what looked like chairs or maybe thrones. Several of the creatures gathered around it, clicking and chirping rapidly. Danny hesitated, unsure whether to step forward or stay put. Am I supposed to sit there? He asked, pointing at the platform, because, I don't want to offend anyone. I'm guessing you guys are the bosses, right? One of the creatures approached him, extending a limb toward the platform. Danny sighed. All right. Don't push your luck. He climbed onto the platform, feeling ridiculous. The creatures formed a circle around him, their clicking growing louder and more intense. For a moment, Danny wondered if he'd made a terrible mistake. Maybe this was some kind of execution ritual. But then he remembered his earlier success with communication. If he could keep talking, maybe he could keep surviving. So, he began, forcing a smile. Nice place you've got here. Very shiny. Did you decorate it yourselves, or did you hire someone? The creatures didn't laugh. Of course they didn't seem capable of laughter, but one of them tilted its head again, as if intrigued. Danny took that as encouragement. Yeah. I bet interior design is tough when you've got 6 legs. Makes measuring tape tricky, huh? As he continued babbling, he realized something. These aliens weren't like humans. They didn't interrupt, roll their eyes, or tell him to be quiet. They listened not because they cared, necessarily, but because they didn't know what else to do. And for Danny, that was enough. Here's ***** part to **** of the story, written in simple and basic English and third-person style, without headings. It is approximately 1,400 words long. Danny didn't know how much time had passed since he'd been brought to the alien ship. There were no clocks, no windows, nothing to mark the passage of hours or days. The only thing he could rely on was his own sense of exhaustion and the growing frustration. That came with being stuck in a room with creatures who refused to explain anything. The aliens Danny had started calling them the Chorusin. His head, because of their constant clicking and chirping, kept him confined to a small, sterile chamber. It wasn't exactly a prison cell. There were no bars or locks, but the smooth, curved walls gave him no way out, and the glowing lights overhead never dimmed. It felt like some kind of futuristic holding pen. Every so often, one of the chorus would enter, stand silently for a few minutes, then leave again. Danny tried talking to them whenever they showed up, but they rarely responded. When they did, it was usually just more clicks and chirps, which Danny couldn't decipher. At first, he tried to stay calm. He reminded himself that panicking wouldn't help. Instead, he focused on observing his surroundings. The floor beneath his feet was cool and metallic. The air smelled faintly of ozone, and the hum of machinery echoed softly in the background. None of it made him feel any better, but at least it gave him something to think about besides his predicament. But as the hours dragged on, boredom turned into restlessness. Danny hated sitting still. Back on Earth, even when he wasn't working, he always found ways to keep busy watching TV, tinkering with old gadgets, or chatting with anyone who'd listen. Here, though, there was nothing to do. No distractions. Just silence, broken occasionally by the sound of alien footsteps outside his door. Finally, after what felt like forever, Danny snapped. "All right, that's it," he shouted, pacing back and forth across the tiny room. "I'm done playing nice. You guys want to kidnap me, fine. But you've got to give me something to work with here. A clue, a hint, anything." One of the chorus appeared almost immediately, stepping through the doorway with its usual precision. Danny stopped pacing and glared at it. "Oh, great. Another silent treatment session. Fantastic." The creature tilted its head slightly, studying him. Danny threw up his hands. "What is it with you people? Don't you ever get tired of standing around looking mysterious? Come on, say something." To his surprise, the creature actually responded, or at least, it seemed to. Its claws clicked together in a pattern that sounded different from before. Slower, more deliberate. Danny frowned, tilting his head to match its posture. "Wait, are you trying to talk to me?" The creature repeated the pattern, this time adding a soft chirp at the end. Danny listened carefully, trying to pick apart the sounds. Okay. Let's see. Click, click, chirp. That's new. Is that your version of hello? Or maybe?" "Shut up." The creature didn't move, but its body shifted slightly, as if waiting for a response. Danny hesitated, then mimicked the sound as best he could. "Click, click, chirp," he said, snapping his fingers twice and making a high-pitched noise with his throat. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the creature's body shimmered, its iridescent colors flashing briefly. Danny grinned. "Oh, did I just communicate? Holy crap, I think I communicated." The creature clicked again, this time faster. Danny struggled to keep up, repeating each sound as it came. It was like learning a song by ear, except the notes were clicks and chirps instead of music. After a few minutes, he managed to string together a short sequence, 3 clicks to chirps, and a pause. The creature responded with the same pattern, its movement smoother now. Almost approving. "Yes." Danny pumped his fist in triumph. "We're doing it. We're communicating. Take that, Rosetta Stone." Encouraged by his success, Danny kept going, experimenting with different combinations of sounds. Some worked, others earned him confused. Tilts of the alien's head, but slowly, painfully, he began to piece together a rudimentary language. Clicks meant questions. Chirps meant answers. Pauses signaled emphasis. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. As the days or whatever passed for days went on, Danny noticed changes in the chorus's behavior. At first, they treated him like a lab rat, poking and prodding him with strange devices that hummed and glowed. They scanned his body, tested his reflexes, and even tried feeding him weird gelatinous blobs that tasted like soap. Danny gagged the first time he tried one, earning a series of rapid clicks from the nearest alien. Yeah, he muttered, pushing the blob away. "Thanks for the 5-star meal. Next time, try ordering pizza." Despite the unpleasant test, Danny couldn't deny that the chorus was learning from him. Every time he talked, they listened. Every time he mimicked their language, they responded. And every time he joked or teased, they reacted, not with laughter, of course, but with subtle shifts in posture or tone. It was like they were fascinated by his unpredictability. One day, during another round of testing, Danny decided to push his luck. The chorus had strapped him onto a table-like platform, attaching wires and sensors to his arms and chest. He lay there, staring up at the ceiling, as the machines around him whirred and beeped. "You know," he said conversationally, "this whole probing thing is getting old. Seriously, it's not my fault humanity has such boring biology. If you wanted excitement, You should have kidnapped an astronaut or something. The alien operating the equipment paused, its claws hovering over the controls. Danny grinned. What? Too late to change your mind? Well, tough luck. You're stuck with me. Instead of ignoring him, the alien turned its head slightly, clicking. Once, Danny raised an eyebrow. Wait, are you saying I'm not boring? Another click, followed by a chirp. Danny laughed. Wow. First compliment I've gotten all week. Thanks, buddy. Really means a lot. From that point on, things started to shift. The chorus began allowing Danny more freedom, letting him wander. Parts of the ship under supervision. They showed him rooms filled with glowing crystals, corridors lined with intricate patterns, and massive chambers where other members of their species gathered. Danny soaked it all in, peppery commentary and all. So this is where you guys hang out, huh? Nice vibe. Very minimalist. Could use a plant or two. Though, his guide a tall, slender member of the chorus who always seemed to be nearby clicked. Softly, Danny pointed at it. You know, you remind me of someone. Quiet, mysterious, always lurking in the background. Like Batman, but with more legs. The alien tilted its head, clearly puzzled. Danny sighed. Never mind. Pop culture reference, probably lost in translation despite the occasional confusion. Danny's relationship with the chorus continued to evolve. He learned more of their language, picking up phrases and gestures that helped him express himself. In return, they taught him fragments of their culture, showing him symbols and rituals that held meaning for their species. One ritual, in particular, stood out, a series of synchronized clicks and chirps performed by groups of aliens in unison. Danny watched in awe as they moved together, their bodies shimmering in harmony. That's beautiful, he murmured, forgetting for a moment that he was supposed to be scared or angry. It's like a dance or a song. His guide clicked, in agreement, though whether it understood his comparison was unclear. Either way, Danny felt a flicker of connection. For the first time since being abducted, he didn't feel completely alone, of course. Not everything was sunshine and rainbows. There were still moments of tension, especially when the chorus grew frustrated with Danny's inability to follow their strict protocols. Unlike humans, who thrived on chaos and improvisation, the chorus valued order above all else. They expected precision, consistency, and absolute obedience. Danny, with his rambling speeches and offbeat humor, disrupted their carefully structured world. You guys need to loosen up, he told them one day, after accidentally interrupting a formal ceremony. Seriously, lighten up. Life's too short to take everything so seriously. The chorus clicked angrily, their colors flashing red and gold. Danny backed away, raising his hands in surrender. Okay. Message received. No joke stirring. Sacred rituals. Got it. Despite these missteps, Danny couldn't shake the feeling that he was making an impact. The chorus was changing, not dramatically, but enough for him to notice. Their interactions with him became less mechanical, more curious. They asked questions instead of issuing commands. They lingered longer during conversations, as if eager to hear what he had to say. And sometimes, when he cracked a particularly bad joke, one or two of them would emit a low, rhythmic chirp that almost sounded like laughter. See, Danny said smugly, crossing his arms. Told you I'd grow on you. As the days went on, Danny found himself wondering about the bigger picture. Why had the chorus taken him? What did they want from humanity? And most importantly, would he ever see Earth again? These questions gnawed at him, even as he joked and laughed with his alien captors. Deep down, he knew he couldn't stay here forever. But for now, he was surviving and maybe, just maybe, making a difference. One evening, or what passed for evening on the ship, Danny sat cross-legged on the floor of his chamber, practicing his alien vocabulary. His guide stood nearby, watching silently. Danny glanced up, catching its gaze. You know, he said thoughtfully, if we're gonna keep hanging out, you shoe. Here's part 3 of the story, written in simple and basic English and third-person style, without headings. It is approximately 1,400 words long. Danny had started to get used to life on the alien ship. Not that he liked it, he missed Earth more than ever, but at least he wasn't completely miserable anymore. Talking to the chorus, especially Zix, gave him a sense of purpose. He still didn't know why they had taken him, but he figured if he could keep them interested, maybe they'd let him live a little longer. And who knows, maybe someday, they'd even send him home. One day, while Danny was practicing his alien vocabulary with Zix, something unusual happened. A group of chorus members entered the chamber, their movements sharper and more urgent than usual. They surrounded Danny, clicking rapidly in patterns he hadn't heard before. Danny frowned, glancing at Zix for help. What's going on? he asked nervously. Did I do something wrong? Zix clicked back, its tone softer than the others. Danny tried to focus, piecing together the sounds. From what he could tell, the aliens were upset about something. Something big. Is this about me? He pressed. Because I swear, I haven't touched anything important. Well, except that glowing crystal thing last week. But it didn't break, did it? Zix hesitated, then clicked again. This time, Danny caught a few familiar phrases. Signal, Earth, and response? His stomach dropped. Wait, you guys got my message, didn't you? The one I sent from the radio telescope. The chorus clicked in unison, their colors flashing brighter. Danny groaned, running a hand through his hair. Oh man, you're telling me you thought I was some kind of official representative? Like a diplomat or something? Zix chirped softly, confirming his guess. Danny threw up his hands. Great, just great. First contact with aliens. And they think I'm humanity's spokesperson. What are the odds? The chorus didn't seem amused. If anything, they looked even more agitated. One of them stepped forward, extending a claw-like limb toward Danny. He flinched, expecting the worst, but instead the alien pointed at a nearby screen. Images flickered to life, showing news reports and videos from Earth. Danny recognized them immediately. Grainy footage of UFO sightings, interviews with conspiracy theorists, and memes mocking his abduction. Wow, Danny muttered, watching as his own face appeared on the screen. Someone had leaked audio of his rambling transmission, and now the internet was having a field day. Looks like I'm famous. The chorus clicked angrily, their colors shifting to deep reds and golds. Danny swallowed hard. Okay, I get it. You're mad because I lied. But come on, how was I supposed to know you'd actually hear me? I was just messing around. Zix stepped between Danny and the other aliens, clicking rapidly in what sounded like an argument. Danny watched, confused but grateful. Thanks, Zix. I owe you one. After a tense moment, the chorus backed off, retreating to the edges of the room. Zix turned to Danny. Its posture softer now. It clicked once, tilting its head slightly. Danny sighed. All right, fine. Let's talk. What do you want from me? Zix led him to another part of the ship, where a massive screen dominated the wall. On it was a map of the solar system, with Earth highlighted in bright blue. Danny stared at it, trying to make sense of the symbols and patterns surrounding the planet. Is this your plan? He asked cautiously. Are you planning to invade or something? Zix clicked twice, shaking its head, or at least. What passed for a head? Danny frowned. Then what? Why are you so interested in us? Zix hesitated, then gestured toward the screen again. This time, new images appeared, diagrams of human anatomy, graphs showing population growth, and clips of people laughing, arguing, and celebrating. Danny tilted his head, studying the display. You're studying us, he realized aloud. But why? Zix clicked softly, mimicking the sound of laughter. Danny blinked. Wait, you're fascinated by our emotions. That's it, isn't it? You don't have feelings anymore. Do you? Zix's body shimmered faintly, confirming his guess. Danny rubbed his temples, processing the information. Okay. So, you guys removed your emotions for efficiency. To make yourselves better at whatever it is you do. Zix chirped once, approvingly. Danny shook his head. Man, no wonder you're so serious all the time. No wonder you freak out when I crack a joke. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. The chorus wasn't just curious about humanity, they were envious. They saw emotions as messy and chaotic, sure, but also as something precious, something they had lost. And somehow, Danny's constant chatter and emotional outburst had reminded them of what they were missing. Wow. Danny said quietly, looking at Zix. You're not mad at me. You're jealous. Zix clicked again, its colors shifting to softer hues. Danny smiled faintly. I'll take that as a yes, for the first time since being abducted. Danny felt a glimmer of hope. If the chorus was interested in humanity's emotions, maybe he could use that to his advantage. Maybe he could convince them that humans weren't just loud, unpredictable creatures, they were worth understanding. Over the next few days, Danny threw himself into teaching the chorus about human culture. He told stories about his childhood, shared jokes, and explained the concept of friendship. He showed them clips of movies he loved, describing the emotions behind each scene. When they struggled to grasp certain ideas, he acted them out, using exaggerated gestures and facial expressions. At first, the chorus seemed skeptical, but gradually, they began to respond. Their clicks and chirps grew more varied, almost playful. One evening, Zix brought Danny to a large chamber filled with glowing crystals. Each crystal pulsed with light, creating a mesmerizing display. Danny stared in awe, forgetting for a moment that he was on an alien ship. This is incredible, he murmured. What is it? Zix clicked softly, pointing at the crystals. Danny squinted, noticing faint patterns etched into their surfaces. Are these memories? He guessed. Your history. Zix chirped in agreement, leading him closer. As they approached, the crystals began to glow brighter, projecting images into the air. Danny watched as scenes unfolded before him. Ancient battles, towering cities, and vast landscapes. But there was something missing. No laughter. No tears. No joy or sorrow, just cold, calculated precision. They're beautiful, Danny admitted, turning to Zix. But they're empty. Without emotions, they're just pictures. Zix clicked sadly, its colors dimming. Danny placed a hand on its arm, more what he assumed was its arm. Hey, it's not too late. You can still learn. Humans mess up all the time, but we keep going because we care. Because we feel. And trust me, it's worth it. Zix tilted its head, considering his words, then slowly, it clicked once, signaling agreement. Danny grinned. That's the spirit. Now, let's see if we can teach you how to laugh. He spent the next hour acting out slapstick routines, pretending to trip over invisible objects and making ridiculous faces. At first, the chorus remained silent, watching intently, but eventually, one of them emitted a low, rhythmic chirp that sounded suspiciously like amusement. Danny froze, staring at the alien. Did you just laugh? The chorus clicked in response, their colors flashing brightly. Danny burst out laughing himself, doubling over with relief. Yes, we did it. You laughed. Zix chirped softly, its body shimmering with pride. Danny straightened up, wiping tears of laughter from his eyes. See? That wasn't so hard, was it? As the days went on, Danny noticed subtle changes in the chorus's behavior. They became less rigid, more willing to experiment. Some of them even tried mimicking his jokes, though their attempts often fell flat. Still, it was progress for the first time. Danny felt like he was making a real difference, but despite the breakthroughs, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. The chorus's leaders, the ones who rarely interacted with him, were growing restless. They gathered in secret meetings, their clicks and chirps sharp and urgent. Danny tried to ask Zix what was happening, but Zix only shook its head, refusing to answer. One night, as Danny lay on the floor of his chamber, staring up at the glowing ceiling, he heard footsteps outside his door. He sat up, heart pounding. As the door slid open, several chorus members entered, their postures stiff and formal. Danny stood quickly, bracing himself. What's going on? He asked, his voice trembling. The lead alien clicked once, pointing toward the exit. Danny hesitated, then followed reluctantly. They led him to a large chamber, where a platform similar to the one he'd been scanned on earlier awaited. The air felt heavy, charged with tension. Danny glanced at Zix, who stood nearby, its colors muted. Zix, he whispered. What's this about? The lead alien stepped forward, raising a claw-like limb. Danny backed away, shaking his head. Wait, I can help you. I can teach you more about humans, about emotions. The alien clicked sharply, cutting him off. Danny clenched his fist, frustration bubbling over. Fine, kick me out. But you're making a mistake. You need me. Before he could say more, the platform beneath him hummed to life. A bright light enveloped him, pulling him upward. Danny shouted, reaching out instinctively. But there was nothing to grab onto. The last thing he saw before everything went white was Zix, standing motionless, its colors flickering faintly. When Danny opened his eyes again, he was lying on the ground in the middle of the desert. The stars above twinkled coldly, indifferent to his plight. He sat up, brushing sand off his clothes, and looked around. The alien ship was G. Here's part for of the story, written in simple and basic English and third-person style, without headings. It is approximately 1,400 words long. Danny stumbled into the radio telescope facility, still clutching the glowing crystal in his hand. He was exhausted, covered in sand, and his mind was racing. The desert night felt colder than usual. But it wasn't just the temperature that made him shiver, it was the weight of what had happened. One moment, he was on an alien ship laughing with Zix and teaching the chorus about human emotions. The next, he was dumped back on Earth like yesterday's trash. The facility was quiet when he entered. Everyone else had gone home hours ago, leaving him alone in the dimly lit control room. Danny dropped onto a chair, staring at the crystal in his palm. It pulsed faintly, casting a soft blue glow across the desk. He turned it over, examining its smooth surface. There were no scratches, no marks, just a faint pattern etched into the center that shimmered like water. All right, buddy, Danny muttered to the crystal. What are you trying to tell me? Did Zix send you as a souvenir? He set the crystal down and leaned back, rubbing his temples. His head was spinning. Part of him wanted to believe the whole thing had been a dream, really vivid, Crazy dream, but the crystal was proof it wasn't. Somewhere out there, the chorus was still watching, still debating. And Zix? Well, Danny didn't know what Zix thought anymore. As he sat there, staring blankly at the wall, the monitor nearby flickered to life. Danny blinked, startled. The signal, the same one he'd recorded before being abducted, was playing again. Beep, beep, pause. Beep, beep, pause. Only this time, it sounded different, faster, almost urgent. Danny leaned forward, pressing a button to replay the sound. Is this you guys? He asked aloud, glancing at the crystal. Are you trying to say something? The screen flashed, displaying a series of symbols that looked vaguely familiar. They reminded him of the patterns the chorus used to communicate. Danny frowned, leaning closer. Wait a second. Is this their language? Or yours? The crystal pulsed brighter, as if responding to his question. Danny grabbed a pen and paper, jotting down the symbols as best he could. Some of them matched the clicks and chirps Zix had taught him. Others were completely new. But even without understanding everything, Danny could feel the message behind it. Asterisk, we're still here. Asterisk, a sudden knock on the door made him jump. He spun around, heart pounding, as Dr. Lewis poked his head inside. Carver? What are you still doing here? Danny scrambled to cover the crystal with his hand, forcing a smile. Oh, hey, Doc. Just finishing up some cleaning. Dr. Lewis raised an eyebrow, stepping into the room. Cleaning? At midnight? You've got a death wish. Working overtime for this place? Danny chuckled nervously, sliding the crystal into his pocket. Yeah, well, gotta keep the bosses happy. Right? Dr. Lewis glanced at the monitor, frowning. What's that noise? Another glitch? Probably. Danny lied quickly. I was just checking it out. Nothing important. Dr. Lewis grunted, clearly unconvinced, but didn't press further. All right, whatever. Don't stay too late. We've got funding meetings tomorrow. And I don't need you falling asleep during my presentation. Wouldn't dream of it, Danny said, flashing a grin. As soon as Dr. Lewis left, Danny let out a shaky breath. He pulled the crystal back out, studying it again. Whatever the chorus wanted. They weren't done with him yet. That much was clear. But why send him back now? Why leave him stranded here with only a glowing rock for company? Meanwhile, hundreds of miles away, Mia Garcia sat hunched over her laptop in a cramped apartment. She was a college student, majoring in linguistics, and usually spent her nights buried in textbooks or scrolling through online forums about extraterrestrial communication. But tonight, she was focused on something else entirely. The leaked audio file from Danny's transmission. Mia had first heard about the signal weeks ago, thanks to a tip from a friend who worked at a cybersecurity firm. Someone had hacked into the radio telescope facility system and uploaded fragments of strange recordings. Most people dismissed them as hoaxes, but Mia knew better. The patterns in the audio were too precise, too deliberate to be random interference. And then there was the voice. Hi. This is Danny Carver from Earth. Mia rewound the clip, listening to it again. The tone was casual, almost playful, but the content was anything but ordinary. Whoever this guy was, he was addressing aliens, real aliens. Her phone buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. It was another notification from Reddit, one of the conspiracy theory threads. She followed obsessively. Someone had posted a blurry photo of a man stumbling out of the desert near Nevada, holding what looked like a glowing rock. The caption read, abducted janitor returns with alien artifact. Mia's eyes widened. She clicked on the post, scrolling through the comments. People were speculating wildly, sharing theories about government cover-ups and secret experiments. But one detail stood out. The man in the photo matched the description of the voice. In the audio file, Danny Carver. Without thinking, Mia grabbed her coat and keys. If this guy really had been abducted and returned, he might have answers. Answers she desperately needed. Back at the facility, Danny was starting to piece things together. The crystal wasn't just a memento. It was a tool, a way for the chorus to stay connected. As he experimented with the monitor, typing in sequences based on the symbols he'd memorized, the screen began to change. New images appeared, maps, diagrams, and even short video clips of the chorus performing rituals. Danny watched in awe, realizing they were teaching him more of their language. But then, something unexpected happened. The monitor displayed a live feed not of space, but of Earth, specifically. It showed footage of military vehicles gathering near the facility. Danny's stomach sank. Oh no, he whispered, they know, before he could react. Alarms blared throughout the building. Red lights flashed, bathing the room in an eerie glow. Danny froze, panic rising in his chest. Had the chorus tipped someone off? Or had the government tracked his return somehow? He grabbed the crystal and stuffed it into his pocket, then bolted for the exit. Outside, chaos reigned. Soldiers in black uniforms swarmed the area, shouting orders and scanning the grounds with high-tech equipment. Danny ducked behind a truck, heart pounding. He had to get out of here fast. As he crept toward the edge of the property, a voice called out behind him. Wait, don't move. Danny froze, turning slowly to see a young woman jogging toward him. She looked nervous but determined, her dark hair tied back in a messy ponytail. In her hand, she held a notebook filled with scribbled notes. Who are you? Danny demanded, backing away. My name's Mia, she said quickly, holding up her hands. I'm not with them, I swear. I just want to help. Danny hesitated, glancing over his shoulder at the approaching soldiers. Help? How? Mia pointed at the pocket where he'd hidden the crystal. That thing. It's important, isn't it? You need to protect it. Danny blinked, surprised. How do you know about that? I've been tracking the signal, Mia explained. And I think I know why they brought you back. But we don't have time to talk here. Follow me. Before Danny could argue, Mia grabbed his arm and pulled him toward a beat-up car parked nearby. They jumped inside, and she sped off just as the soldiers reached the spot where they'd been standing. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Danny stared at her, unsure whether to trust her. Finally, he sighed. All right, Mia, you've got my attention. Now tell me, what exactly am I supposed to do with this thing? Mia glanced at him, her expression serious. You're humanity's first ambassador, Danny. Whether you like it or not, let me know if you'd like me to continue with Part 5. Here's Part 5 of the story, written in simple and basic English and third-person style, without headings. It is approximately 1,400 words long. Danny stared at Mia, his mind racing. Ambassador? Me? You've got to be kidding. Mia kept her eyes on the road, weaving the car between empty desert highways. I'm not kidding. Think about it. The aliens, sorry, the chorus took you for a reason. They didn't just bring you back because they were done with you. They sent you home with that crystal as a message. And now, they're waiting. Danny glanced at the glowing crystal resting on the dashboard. It pulsed faintly, casting soft blue light across the interior of the car. A message for who? The government. For everyone, Mia corrected. But mostly for you. You're the one who can understand them, or at least start to. That makes you important, Danny groaned, sinking lower in his seat. Great, just what I always wanted. Responsibility. Mia smirked, glancing at him briefly. You don't strike me as the type to shy away from attention. Besides, you already talked your way into their good graces once. Why stop now? Danny opened his mouth to argue, but stopped himself. She wasn't wrong. Somehow, his endless chatter had gotten through to the chorus. Maybe he could do it again. Still, the thought of being humanity's representative made his head spin. He wasn't a scientist, a politician, or even particularly brave. He was just a janitor who liked telling jokes. So what's the plan? Danny asked finally. If I'm supposed to be some kind of ambassador, where do we start? We figure out what the crystal wants us to do. Mia replied simply. It's obviously a communication device. If we can decode its signals, maybe we can send a message back. Danny frowned. And if we screw it up? What if we accidentally declare war or something? Mia hesitated, then shrugged. Then we'll deal with it. But sitting here doing nothing isn't going to help anyone, Danny sighed, rubbing his temples. All right, fine. Let's try. But if this goes sideways, I'm blaming you. They drove for hours, putting as much distance as possible between themselves and the soldiers. Eventually, they pulled off the highway and parked near an abandoned gas station. The building was old and run down, but it offered enough shelter to work without being noticed. Inside, Mia set up her laptop while Danny placed the crystal on a dusty counter. The glow from the crystal illuminated the room, making the shadows dance across the walls. Danny watched it nervously, half expecting it to explode or do something equally dramatic. Okay, Mia said, typing furiously on her keyboard. Let's see if we can sync this thing with my computer. She connected a series of wires and adapters, improvising a makeshift interface. After a few minutes, the screen flickered to life, displaying rows of symbols and patterns. Danny recognized some of them from his time with the chorus, but many were new. This looks like their language, Danny said, pointing at the screen. Zix taught me a bit of it. Some of these clicks and chirps, I think I know what they mean. Mia nodded eagerly. Perfect. Start translating, even if it's just fragments. It'll give us a starting point. For the next several hours, Danny worked alongside Mia, piecing together bits of the alien language. It was slow going, But gradually, they began to make progress. The crystals seemed to respond to their efforts, pulsing brighter whenever they got something right. One sequence stood out, a repeating pattern of clicks followed by a sharp chirp. Danny snapped his fingers. That's Earth. I remember Zick showing me that one. Mia jotted it down, adding it to their growing list of translations. Good. Now let's see if we can find anything about emotions. That's what they were really interested in, right? Danny nodded. Yeah. They didn't have feelings anymore. So they were fascinated by ours. Zix especially. Well, I think it like me. Mia smiled faintly. Sounds like you'd have bonded. Lucky you. Danny chuckled, though there was a hint of sadness in his voice. Yeah. Lucky me. As they worked, the crystal began projecting images onto the wall. Scenes of Earth appeared, oceans, forest, cities bustling with life. But mixed in were flashes of the chorus, their movements synchronized and precise. Danny leaned closer, studying the images. This is weird. It's like they're comparing us to them. Mia nodded thoughtfully. Maybe they're trying to show us how different we are. Or maybe they're wondering if we're worth learning from. Danny frowned. What happens if they decide we're not? Mia didn't answer right away. Instead, she focused on the screen, typing rapidly. Finally, she turned to him, her expression serious. We won't let it come to that. If we can prove to them that humans are worth understanding even with all our flaws, then maybe we can change their minds. Danny hesitated, then nodded. All right, let's do it. The next morning, they packed up their gear and headed toward a nearby town. Mia had heard about a small independent radio station that might let them broadcast a message. It was risky any transmission could attract unwanted attention, but they didn't have another option. When they arrived, the station manager, a grizzled man named Carl, eyed them suspiciously. What do you kids want? He asked, chewing on a toothpick. We need to use your equipment, Mia said quickly. It's important. Carl raised an eyebrow. Important, huh? You planning to overthrow the government or something? Danny laughed nervously. Not exactly. We're trying to talk to aliens. To their surprise, Carl didn't laugh. Instead, he studied them for a moment, then shrugged. Why not? Beats playing country music all day. He led them to the control room where outdated equipment lined the walls. Danny held up the crystal, explaining how it worked. Carl scratched his head but didn't interrupt. All right, kid. Knock yourself out. With Mia's help, Danny connected the crystal to the transmitter. They programmed it to send a simple message, combining what they learned about the chorus's language with basic human concepts like friendship and emotion. Danny added a personal touch, speaking directly into the microphone. Hey, Zix. It's me, Danny. Listen, I don't know if you can hear this, but thanks for everything. Humans aren't perfect. We mess up a lot, but we care. About each other, about our planet, about you guys too, I guess. So if you're still out there watching, just know we're ready to learn from you. And maybe from us too. Mia hit the transmit button, sending the signal out into space. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the crystal pulsed brightly, almost blinding them. A low hum filled the room, growing louder and louder until it became a deafening roar. What's happening? Danny shouted, covering his ears. I don't know, Mia yelled back, clinging to the desk. Suddenly, the lights flickered and the entire station shook violently. Outside, the sky darkened, and a massive shadow loomed overhead. Danny and Mia ran to the window, staring up in awe as a familiar shape descended from the clouds. It was the alien ship. The ground trembled as the vessel landed nearby, kicking up dust and debris. Soldiers appeared almost instantly, surrounding the area with tanks and helicopters. Orders crackled over radios, and spotlights illuminated the scene. Danny stepped forward, clutching the crystal tightly. Stay back, he told Mia. This is my fight. Before she could argue, he walked toward the ship, ignoring the shouts of the soldiers. As he approached, the hatch opened, revealing Zix standing alone on the platform. Its colors shimmered softly, almost welcoming. Danny smiled faintly. Hey, buddy. Miss me? Zix clicked once, tilting its head. Behind it, the chorus gathered, their movements calm but deliberate. Danny took a deep breath, holding up the crystal. We're ready to talk, really talk. No more games, no more misunderstandings. Just honesty. The chorus exchanged clicks, their tones thoughtful. Then, one by one, they stepped aside, allowing Danny to board the ship. As the hatch closed behind him, he glanced back at Mia, who stood frozen in the distance. Don't worry, he whispered to himself. I'll fix this. Let me know if you'd like me to continue with part 6. Here's part 6 of the story, written in simple and basic English in third-person style, without headings. It is approximately 1,400 words long. Danny stepped onto the alien ship for the second time, his heart pounding, but his mind surprisingly clear. The chorus surrounded him, their glowing bodies shimmering faintly in the dim light. Zix stood closest, its posture relaxed compared to before. Danny gripped the crystal tightly in one hand, feeling its warmth pulse against his palm. He wasn't sure what to expect, but he knew one thing: this was his chance to make things right. "All right," Danny said aloud, his voice steady despite the chaos outside. "Let's talk." The chorus clicked softly, their tones more varied than before, almost musical. Danny recognized some of the patterns from his earlier lessons with Zix. They weren't angry or hostile, they were curious, maybe even hopeful. Zix stepped forward. Clicking once, Danny nodded. "I know. You've got questions. So do I, but first, thanks for coming back. I wasn't sure you would." Zix tilted its head slightly, then chirped softly. Danny smiled faintly. Yeah. Sentimental moment over. Let's get down to business." With Zix's help, Danny began explaining humanity, or at least, his version of it. He talked about Earth's beauty and imperfections, its wars and its acts of kindness. He described laughter, tears, love, and loss, using simple words and gestures. The chorus listened intently, their clicks and chirps growing softer as if absorbing every detail. When Danny finished, Zix clicked again, pointing at the crystal. Danny handed it over, watching as Zix held it up for the others to see. The glow intensified, projecting images onto the walls. Humans working together, families laughing, artists creating, scientists exploring. The chorus watched silently, their colors shifting subtly. "They're not perfect," Danny added quietly, "but they try. And that's something, isn't it?" Zix chirped in agreement, its body shimmering brightly. Danny felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they understood. But then, the mood shifted. A group of chorus members approached, their movements stiff and formal. One of them raised a claw-like limb, pointing at Danny. Its clicks were sharp, urgent. Danny frowned, glancing at Zix. "What's going on?" Zix hesitated, then clicked softly. Danny pieced together the meaning. "Asterisk, they want proof." "Asterisk proof," Danny echoed. "Of what?" "That humans are worth understanding." Zix chirped again, confirming his guess. Danny sighed, running a hand through his hair. "How am I supposed to prove that? Do I need to write an essay? Put on a play?" Before Zix could respond, the lead alien stepped forward, gesturing toward the platform. Danny followed reluctantly, his stomach churning. The platform hummed to life, projecting a holographic map of Earth. The chorus studied it closely, their clicks growing louder. Danny realized what they were asking. "You want me to show you Earth?" he said slowly. "Not just pictures or stories, but real-life examples." Zix clicked once, nodding. Danny groaned. "Great, no pressure, right? Just take you guys on a field trip to convince you humans aren't total disasters." The lead alien clicked sharply, cutting him off. Danny raised his hands in surrender. Okay, I'll do it. But fair warning, humanity's messy. You might regret it." Back on Earth, chaos reigned. The military had cordoned off the area around the ship, evacuating nearby towns and setting up defensive perimeters. Reporters swarmed the outskirts, broadcasting live updates to millions of viewers worldwide. Rumors spread like wildfire: invasion, peace talks, extinction-level events. No one knew what to believe. Mia watched from a safe distance, her phone buzzing nonstop with messages from friends and strangers alike. She ignored them, focusing instead on the ship. Danny was inside, alone with the aliens. What was happening? Was he okay? Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden commotion. Soldiers shouted orders, and helicopters circled overhead. The ship's hatch opened, and Danny emerged, flanked by several members of the chorus, including Zix. Mia's breath caught in her throat. They were leaving the ship, together. The crowd gasped as the chorus moved forward, their movements deliberate and calm. Danny walked beside them, holding the glowing crystal. He glanced at Mia briefly, giving her a small, reassuring smile. Then he turned to face the soldiers and reporters. "Everyone, listen," Danny called out, raising his hands. "These aren't invaders, they're explorers. Like us. They came here because they wanted to understand us, and we owe it to them to let them." The soldiers hesitated, unsure how to respond. One officer stepped forward, his voice firm. "Who gave you authority to speak for humanity?" Danny grinned nervously. No one, technically. But hey, someone had to step up, right?" The crowd erupted into murmurs, some cheering, others booing. Danny ignored them, turning back to the chorus. "So, where to first?" Zix clicked softly, pointing toward the nearest city. Danny nodded. "All right, urban sprawl it is. Welcome to Earth, folks. Try not to judge us too harshly." The chorus's visit to the city was surreal. People stopped in their tracks, staring at the towering aliens with wide eyes. Some screamed and ran, others pulled out their phones to record everything. The chorus moved slowly, observing the bustling streets, the towering buildings, and the endless stream of cars and pedestrians. Danny stayed close to Zix, answering questions and pointing out details. "That's a coffee shop," he explained, gesturing toward a crowded cafe. "Humans love caffeine almost as much as they love arguing online." Zix clicked curiously. Tilting its head, Danny laughed. "Don't ask? It's complicated." As they explored, the chorus seemed particularly fascinated by human interaction. They watched children playing in a park, couples holding hands, and strangers helping each other cross the street. Their colors shifted gently, almost wistful. "They feel," Zix clicked softly, mimicking the sound of laughter. "Even when it hurts," Danny smiled. "Yeah, that's kind of our thing." By the end of the day, the chorus had seen enough. They returned to their ship, gathering in the main chamber for a final discussion. Danny stood nearby, waiting anxiously. Finally, the lead alien stepped forward, clicking once. Danny translated the message mentally. "We will return." Zix approached him, its colors glowing warmly. It extended a claw-like limb, touching the crystal still clutched in Danny's hand. "Thank you." It clicked softly. Danny blinked, startled. "For what?" "For reminding us," Zix replied, its tone gentle, "of who we were." Before Danny could respond, the ship's hatch closed and the vessel lifted off, disappearing into the night sky. The crowd erupted into cheers, but Danny barely heard them. He stared at the crystal in his hand, now dim and lifeless. "Well," he muttered to himself, "that was unexpected." In the weeks that followed, Danny became a celebrity. Much to his dismay, news outlets hailed him as humanity's accidental diplomat, while conspiracy theorists debated whether he'd been brainwashed or replaced by an alien clone. Through it all, Danny stayed true to himself, cracking jokes and brushing off the attention. Mia kept in touch, helping him document his experiences and decode fragments of the chorus's language. Together, they published a paper detailing their findings, sparking global interest in extraterrestrial communication. Scientists praised them, skeptics dismissed them, but neither Danny nor Mia cared. They had made history. One evening, as Danny sat on the roof of his apartment building, staring up at the stars, Mia joined him. "Think they'll come back?" she asked quietly. Danny shrugged, smiling faintly. "Maybe. Or maybe they'll send someone else next time. Either way, we'll be ready." Mia nodded, leaning back on her elbows. "You know, for a janitor, you're pretty impressive." Danny chuckled, rolling his eyes. "Thanks, I think." They sat in silence for a while, watching the sky. Somewhere out there, the chorus was traveling, learning, and perhaps remembering what it meant to feel. And somewhere down here, a janitor turned diplomat was proving that even the most ordinary person could change the universe. No one ever expected humanity's first great interstellar diplomat to be a janitor who wouldn't shut up. But sometimes, the most unlikely heroes are the ones who shine the brightest. This concludes the story. Let me know if you'd like any adjustments or additional content.